What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Gablim, and Mr. Maui Yap. Welcome back to the Boleros off-season podcast. Sabi namin sa inyo, marami pa rin tayong episodes kahit off-season. We're going to do one of our favorite segments, something we didn't do during season 87, but we've done this before. If you've listened to the podcast before, we're going to do If You Were the Coach. So we're going to run through each of the 8 UAAP teams and talk about the coach's plans for the off-season or plans in preparation for season 88. We'll break this down into two parts since marami tayong schools. We'll talk about the first 4 schools today. Let's do it in alphabetical order. Let's start with your Ateneo Blue Eagles, Mr. Gablin.
Well, the most obvious answer is something we answered in the past episode when they announced the recruitment of the Sacred Heart kids to Ateneo. If I were Coach Tab Baldwin, my priority this offseason is to recruit bigs. A decent big, at least 2 to 3, at least 2 to 3 decent bigs who can play rotation minutes. We saw how season 87 played out. Ateneo had difficulty matching up with just big centers. QMB, Mo Konate, Precious Momoe, Mike Phillips just ate Ateneo alive for 2 matchups. Every big had a field day against the Ateneo Blue Eagles because they were playing a 6'3" center in Christian Porter for majority of the game. I think that's probably the hardest thing that you could ask of a rookie for Christian Porter. Probably the hardest task he's ever had in his life is to play center against the 6'10", 6'9" centers in the UAAP. So definitely just to develop or get someone to play the center spot, just to get rim protection, rebounding, move Chris Porter and Josh Lazaro to their natural positions. I said this in their last episode. 3 of Ateneo's 4 wins came against teams with no FSA. That just goes to show me that the rest of the roster is competent enough to match up with the others in the UAAP. So there is talent, there is competence in the rest of the roster. Now, there are some things that you can improve on, and maybe we'll talk about that later. But the most important thing for this offseason for the Ateneo Blue Eagles and for Coach Tab Baldwin, they have to get bigger. They cannot match up with the likes of La Salle, UP, UST, even with Motongkara in the middle. They cannot match up with those schools if they don't get big men. They have to get bigger. It takes the pressure off their perimeter players. It takes the pressure of Jared Bahay. Jared Bahay's target for the pick and roll for most of the season was 6'3" Christian Porter. He was trying to throw lobs to Christian Porter and Josh Lazaro.
6'3" with shoes pa nga ata.
Josh Lazaro could not even catch those lobs because he was shorter than Jared Bahay had to throw it up over bigger guys just to get it to Josh Lazaro and to Christian Porter. So that's the main priority. But my second, if I were the coach, definitely to work on shooting. Work on shooting for Jared Bahay. We saw how much he struggled shooting the basketball in season 87. Get Sean Toano at least a decent shot, either from mid-range or from 3-point land. We all know he can get to the basket at will. I think if you've watched Sean Toano,
free throw muna, bro.
Your free throws.
Yun din. Free throws, shooting. Yes, we all know how we've laughed and cried over Ateneo's free throw shooting this season. It has literally lost them games this season. Just how horrible they've shot from the free throw line. So shooting in general, they need to work on that. I mentioned Sean Toano. I think if you can unlock at least a mid-range shot, you can unlock a huge part of his game because he's already so dangerous going to the basket. He already has the length and the handles to get to the basket at will. But anytime you get him to shoot, it's like a win for the defense. So the next step in this game is to get a decent jump shot. Drew Bongo, I think he's already carved out his role as a 3 and D guy. He can shoot. Christian Porter will probably hopefully will slide down to either a power forward role or a small forward role, a stretch 4. He needs to shoot better. Josh Lazaro needs to shoot more and better from the perimeter. This whole team. Hopefully LeBron Nieto is back and healthy and he can provide the necessary shooting and defense. But shooting has to be a top priority. Ateneo struggles on offense. I'm not worried about the defense. I think that the defense will still be good. It was good for parts of the season despite playing without a center. So I'm not worried about that. But bigs and shooting. If I were Coach Baldwin, I would focus on those two. Maui, what would you do if you were Coach Tab?
Actually, those were probably the top priorities for Ateneo this offseason. But I had another in mind. If I were Coach Tab, I would ask for an extension. Not just a year, maybe 2 to 3, diba? Kasi if you want to build a program, diba? I mean, if Ateneo is not backing Coach Tab, diba, for this season, then maybe my internet is acting up.
Yeah, okay ka naman,
Hello?
Maui. Yeah.
Yeah, my internet. Yeah, if I were Coach Tab, I would ask for an extension. Diba? Kasi if Ateneo was 100% behind Coach Tab, then maybe they should prioritize building a new program. Diba? If they weren't, then maybe they could have gotten a new coach for season 88. Diba? But since we are bottom dwellers in the UAAP, diba? It's all about the build up. Diba? You can't expect Coach Tab to build something up in a season. Diba? The reality is the real rebuild is right now. It wasn't last season. It wasn't 2 seasons ago when they had Balungay. It's really this season where the build-up starts. Diba? Ateneo did not expect Mason Amos to leave and all the other players to leave early. But it's all about building up to be able to build up a culture, to be able to build up that new BEBOB culture or whatever new culture they want to build. To be able to train and develop players, to trust veterans. You have to have at least a 3 to 5 year program, in my opinion, in the UAAP. Diba? It's hard to. Coach Topex was fast track, diba? Kasi they had Mike Phillips and Kiambao who were cornerstones already of the previous teams. Coach Tab will have to build up with a rookie from this season, which is Jared Bahay. So if I were the coach, if Ateneo prioritize building up a new program, and if Coach Tab is really 100% still with Ateneo, I would ask for a 3 to 5 year extension. Para wala nang distractions, diba? All about what's on the court. No doubting, just build up. Pure build up. Sam.
Ang ganda nung sinabi mo, Maui, na walang distractions. Because this is gonna be a question for this offseason and for the next season. If he's not signed to the next season, this is gonna be a question. A lot of media people are gonna ask him, Coach Tab, is this your last season? You Coach Tab, are you gonna coach Ateneo for next season? You're gonna get a ton of it because it's now a story. So people will keep on asking it. So just to get that unnecessary distraction out of the way, I'm with Maui. I think Coach Tab, if he's too proud to ask for an extension, maybe magparinig lang siya ng konti yung kay MVP. Boss, maybe you can extend me a few more seasons so I can really build up this young team. I've said it in previous episodes. If Coach Tab still wants to coach Ateneo, they should let him coach Ateneo. I don't care who is the other candidates or if they're looking at someone. I don't care. Coach Tab has proven himself, to me at least, and to the UAP as a whole, that he's very capable. I mean, he's very capable to develop players. Just look at the amount of pros he's gotten. He's graduated from that school. So it's Ateneo's loss if Coach Tab leaves after season 88. But good point yun, Maui. Para maiwasan na yung distraction, just extend him. Just give him 1 or 2 more seasons. It's another way for the players to focus on the game rather than focusing on whether Coach Tab is still gonna be here for next season. Sammy.
Yeah, good point. And it helps Coach Tab with recruitment, diba? Kasi ang hirap naman you're recruiting new players who will stay with Ateneo for what, 3, 4, 5 years, and you're with them, you're the coach for 1 year, diba? A lot can change. If after 1 year, iba na yung coach, iba na yung system. The players go in, a lot of the players go to Ateneo because they want to be coached by Coach Tab. So, getting that extension solidifies yung recruitment din ni Coach Tab or yung pitch ni Coach Tab. I also like what you said, Gab, about shooting and working on shooting, especially for guys like Jared Bahay. Kasi naalala ko yung interview natin with SJ Belangil. And SJ told us one of the things that he worked on after his rookie season was shooting. And that was one of the main focuses of Coach Tab. And nakita natin yung results of that when he became three-point shooter, talagang solid, legit three-point shooter in his second year. That's when his game sort of took off. And shout out to SJ Belangel, who like scored a career high in
36
PBL
points.
game.
What's the
36,
highlights?
35 points. Yeah.
Raining down threes.
Raining
That's
down
my guy.
threes. He developed that. He worked on that. I remember you asked him this question. He changed his shot after his rookie year. And that was because Coach Tab told him to change his shot. So I love that point about like working on the shooting, especially for rookies like Jared Bahay. I do have, since you guys mentioned the important things, I wanted to mention the Coach Tab thing. I do have one more thing that Ateneo should work on, or Coach Tab should focus on, and that's making sure his kids are studying and are going to classes and are not going to fail their subjects, because this has happened every season. Merong kids or merong students that leave Ateneo. We saw Rafi Salle.
Lagi may sabit.
Kobe De Mesana in the most recent years. Thirdy Ravenna skipped a year because may sabit siya. So if I'm Coach
Jolo
Tab,
Mendoza,
Rafi
Rafi
Verano. So if I'm Coach Tab, I'm watching Jared Bahay, especially the rookies. Kasi if you're in your freshman year, you're adjusting to the college life, babantayin ko yung mga rookies ko. Jared Bahay, you can't miss a single class, you can't fail a single subject. We need you for season 88. So that's the one thing that I would add for Ateneo.
Maraming distractions sa Ateneo. Take it from me and Maui. There are a lot of distractions.
Okay, moving on. We've talked about Ateneo a lot. Let's move on to the next school. Your Adamson Soaring Falcons. I want to start with you, Gab. The Adamson Whisperer. If you were Coach Nash Racela, what would you do?
Very similar to what I said to Ateneo. They have to get bigger. Mario Barasi just graduated. And if you look at their front court rotation last season, it was Cedric Manzano, OJ Ojericre, and Mario Barasi. One of them has graduated. So there are 2 left. You cannot play just 2 bigs for next season. You have to get just a big body. If it's not gonna, I mean, Mario Barasi wasn't any good. I mean, he was just a big guy who can guard the big players of the other team. That was his role, or grab rebounds. He didn't score. He didn't block shots at a high rate. He didn't do any of that. But he was a big guy who could spell some minutes for Cedric Manzano and OJ Ojericre. That's what they need. I watched the Pinoy Liga and Phil Oil teams last season. They did not have a ton of bigs there also. So they have to recruit someone big. They have to get someone big, 6'7", 6'8", who can play center. Because, grabe, you're gonna ask AJ Franzman to be the backup center, or see Alan Ignacio, who's like, what, 6'3", 6'4"? That's like Christian Porter height. We've seen it with Ateneo. It's not gonna work. So
hey, I like Alan Ignacio.
I like Alan Ignacio too. Stretch 5, stretch big. But you put him against Mike Phillips, he's gonna be eaten alive.
Yep.
So they have to get someone big. I know in the juniors they do have someone big. I think si Perez was his last name.
Perez, yeah.
Yeah, si Alan Perez or something like that. He's like 6 foot. He was 6'7" the last junior season.
6'7".
Maybe he got bigger in this season. I know they have a new FSA, but you can only play one FSA. So if you're replacing OJ, it's just still gonna be Cedric and OJ. And there's also some preparation for the future. This is Cedric's last season. I think he started in 84. So this is 5th season. He's gone after season 88. You can't go into season 89 with no bigs. That's no way. So the priority for Coach Nash, much like Ateneo, recruit bigs, big men. Whether it's from the UAAP juniors, NCAA juniors, abroad, kung kailangan mag-pull ka na naman ng run zone and get a Div 1 player, I don't care if it's a run zone quality or if it's a Troy Wright quality, basta malaki. They have to get their front court some help. I mean, Cedric Manzano cannot play 40 minutes a game. Hindi niya kaya. OJ Ojoricre, hindi niya rin kaya. They can't do it just a two for next season. I'm looking forward to see Adamson's preseason games, whether they have someone big na tinatago lang or na-recruit pala nila. So, sana yun na makita ko. Much like Ateneo, their wings and guards are very talented. I do expect that si Noah Pacquiao is gonna enter next season. They have a ton of wings. Kobe de Mesana pala is there. So, that's one.
No nga pala.
So, we all forgot about si Kobe, but he's coming. So, that's 3 bigs. You need more. I think you need more. Especially for the future, no? Na mawawala na si Cedric. You need more. Yun lang. That's the main hole that I foresee with Adamson, because I still think si Matt Erolon's gonna be there. I think si Kalisay is gone. So yung pati si Joshua Yero. But they have a ton of guards who can replace the departing ones and the departing wings. AJ Franzman is still gonna be there. So he's a key part of that. So I still think this is gonna be... Adamson is still gonna play the same way as last season. I don't foresee, unless they get some big time recruit who can, take over games. They're gonna play the same way as it did last season. Solid defense, shoot a ton of threes, and hope that their offense is enough to win them games. Because as of right now, I don't think they have anyone that's coming in that can give them a spark like a Jerome Lastimosa type of level of player that can actually carry them. It's gonna have to be a team effort, much like CC 87. But it's all gonna be pretty hard if they don't get more bigs. Kobe de Mesana is unproven. I mean, he's a big guy, but he's pretty thin. I am excited for him to finally play. I mean, he was one of the unfortunate ones who was a victim of the residency rule and got deducted 2 years of eligibility because, well, he never played in the UAP, but he still got deducted. So
crazy.
I'm happy that he's finally able to play. That's all I'm gonna say. And hopefully we see something. Hopefully he gets some rotation minutes, big rotation minutes.
He needs to go to the gym with Baby Boy Manzano. Maui.
Mayroon zone pa, di ba? I think the other run zone has eligibility left for next season. But kidding aside, I think Adamson, if I were Coach Nash, si Gab was right on the point. They will still play the same way. They will still have a top-tier defense, probably play the slowest pace in the league, which is the case last season. Work on your three-pointers. Continue to work on your three-pointers. I'm actually surprised in Noah Pacquiao what didn't make the lineup, considering he's considered a shooter. If your team shoots a lot of three-pointers and a good defensive team, the two things that you can work on is really outside shooting. Diba? Why fix something that's not broken? Diba? If those two were the key things that got you to the Final Four, then work on it more. Diba? Maybe get, as Gab mentioned, get a big man to bolster your front court so you don't get bullied, especially when your big men get foul trouble. And continue to add shooters and continue to improve your shooters. Diba? They have a lot of capable shooters on their lineup. It's just that, excuse me, it's just that maybe there were games that they were inconsistent with regards to shooting. Diba? Kaya they had games where they only scored 30 plus points. Diba? Maybe work on that consistency, work on their players being able to generate better shots, better looks, so they could hit at a higher clip. But as usual, Adamson will go into season 8-8 as an underdog despite all of this. I hope that si Manzano stays. I don't know if he's gonna go pro, maybe go the MPBL route and try the PBA, but let's see what happens during the off season. But I think he's pro ready. If you're talking about PBA ready, I think Manzano could fit in nicely sa PBA, diba? With his skill set.
Okay, good point, Maui. If I were Coach Nash Rosella, two things actually. Number one, I'm brainwashing the Adamson Junior Falcons, the high school kids, because ngayon pa lang I'm making them train with the seniors team. I'm dining them out, taking them out to dinner, selling the Adamson program to these kids kasi they have a very good team. They have a very good team in the juniors division. They have very talented
Mark
guys.
Esperanza, Pomelo
Ball, Esperanza. You talked about si Perez, who was a big factor in their championship run last season. I think they
Earl
have
Medina, sharpshooter.
Shooter. So those are guys that they need. Those are guys that they need to add to their team. The problem is last season they also had stars in high school. They didn't go to Adamson. So they should have learned from that lesson. Na just because they came from Adamson, they were coached by the assistant coach of the seniors team, doesn't mean they're going to go directly to your seniors team. So you have to make sure this season that doesn't happen again. So I'm as early as now, I'm brainwashing these kids. Now I'm going to my
Wala nang loyalty.
Wala nang
sa
loyalty.
UAAP. That's the reality.
I'm going to my second point, which is related to this. And if I'm Coach Nash Rosella, I'm asking for more funding. I'm looking for a bigger sponsor. Kasi...
Tama.
Gab, you've said this 100 times before. I picked Adamson as like parang a winner of the season. Pero sabi mo, expected naman na Adamson will make it to fourth place, diba? But they're stuck there eh. They're stuck in like battling for fourth place in the Final Four. And when will they take it to the next level and be a contender?
Kumbaga sa NBA, Sam, palagi na lang sila Chicago Bulls. Palagi na sa play-in, pero
play-in lang.
Pero never nag-playoffs.
Naman. And sabi mo, Gab, when will they take it to the next level, diba? And we've talked about this in the previous episode. You guys should watch that with UE. Imagine what Coach Nash Rosella could do with a team that's better funded. That has more funding to recruit more players or to attract quality players. I think Coach Nash has done a tremendous job with what he has. Pero hopefully someone will fund them, someone will sponsor them so they can be even more competitive. Imagine if all the teams are competitive. That would be very interesting. So, yun, if I were Coach Nash, those are the two things that I'm going to do.
Sam, wait. I want to comment lang dun sa sinabi mo about Coach Nash, what he can achieve if he has the right funding. Diba? We know the potential. He's a championship UAAP coach. The last time he had, diba, top prospects like Baroka, Belo, and si Pugoy, diba?
Wala na si Baroka noon, pare.
Tolomia, sorry. Tolomia. I get confused. But we know the potential. We know the potential, diba? What he can bring to the table if he gets the right funding. And no more off-court issues if I were the coach.
Just play golf with Coach Tab. Just play golf with Coach Tab. Yun na lang. And then mag-selfie kayo. Yung para good vibes tayo lahat.
Moving on. Let's talk about the runner-up to season 87. The De La Salle Green Archers. If you were Coach Topex, anong gagawin mo after that heartbreaker of a loss to UP? Maui, let's start with you.
If I were Coach Topex, I would follow a similar game plan to season 86. Start early. Diba? It's all about integrating the pieces for season 88. Diba? They have the talent. I think this is the first season that Coach Topex is finally going to have multiple backcourt choices. Diba? If you been a follower of Coach Topex, yung San Sebastian days na and LPU days, laging merong backcourt yan na dynamic duo, diba? From the Marcelino twins before, I remember that. But they have Baclaan, they have Cortez, they have Amos. I think that's enough to cover what they're going to lose with Kevin Tiambao. I
Pablo
think
pa.
they even have more Pablo. I think they have enough firepower to be more versatile. Diba? The problem with Salle this past season is they relied too much on Kevin Tiambao and to a certain degree kay Mike Phillips, diba? Maybe make Mike Phillips handle the ball less and focus on rebounding, doing the dirty work. Maybe si Mike Phillips full court press na the whole game because he doesn't have to exert energy being that offensive hub. But I think they have enough pieces to be more versatile on offense, diba? Maybe not as good, not having a generational talent like Tiambao, but they have a lot more options to go to. Diba? They have Cortez and Baclaan, arguably two of the top tier point guards, diba? In both UAAP, in college basketball. They have Mason Amos, probably one of the best shooters in college basketball. So start early, diba? Get them integrated. I know they've been playing in different leagues. It's still gonna be different once they're gonna be playing with Makalala, Guliena, and Phillips, who I believe are three of the most important pieces for Salle moving forward. It's gonna be interesting to see who will crack the rotation now that Baclaan and Cortez is coming in. Diba? I think that's gonna be there will be veterans who will complain. I'm sure of it. They will have to work on their outside shooting, diba? Kasi they have two ball dominant point guards. But that's it. Basically, just start early, maybe February. Or maybe maybe we don't know. They have already started. I wouldn't be surprised.
Ako, if I were Coach Topex, I would go Coach Anzay mode on Henry Agonale. Now there are a lot of fans, Lasal fans at that, who don't like Henry Agonale, especially this past season. A lot of them agreed with me that he was a bust. And I think if you were in the finals and watched him, you would definitely agree. He was sometimes unplayable against QMB. And that's hard to say given he was one of the highly touted recruits coming into season 87. Henry Agonane was like he was being dubbed the next big
Benembala.
Next Benembala, diba? And now, was he going to season 87? No, he was not. But do I think he has the skills to be a better player, to be a more dominant player? I do think he can. I mean, he has the height. He has long arms. His footwork leaves a lot to be desired. His ball handling leaves a lot to be desired. But I do think there is something there. He can catch lobs. He can protect the rim. He can rebound the ball pretty well. So I do think that he needs to unlock Henry Agonane more. Now, some are clamoring that to bring back Bright Noango. Maybe, but I do think Henry has a higher ceiling than Bright, to be honest. He's quicker laterally. He can run the floor better than Bright Noango. They need to get him in the weight room more. It's crazy to me that he's being pushed out by smaller people than him. BJ Palacelo is giving him problems, diba? So he needs to get bigger. He needs to work on his core, his his overall weight and build that muscle, man. So there and small skills. He doesn't have to be a overall great. He doesn't have to be Kevin Durant for next season or what. He doesn't have to be an Ans Kwame for next season. But he has to be someone who can stay on the floor. The problem was, as Maui said, they relied too much on Mike, which was pretty difficult because as much as Mike has an unlimited motor and is such a game shark and a cheat code, he will tire. And he has his vulnerabilities. Free throw shooting. Let's look at game 3 of the finals. He's a bad free throw shooter. Henry Agunane has to spell him more minutes. They have to play. Henry Agunane cannot be unplayable. Yun lang siguro yung point ko. With his height and with his... Because there is skills there. When I watch Henry, there is skills. May skills naman siya. He can handle the ball. His
may potential.
Yung may potential si Henry. I know he was disappointing at 87, but there is something there. I do hope that we see increased minutes for Henry come season 88, because one of the stories of season 87, his minutes went down from the start of the season. They were playing him less and less and less because you saw the negative impact he had on the team. He can't have that for season 88. I do think there's something there with Henry. Stick to his strengths, build on his strengths as well. He can dunk the ball. He can catch lobs. Teach him how to catch lobs. Teach him how to box out and get position in the paint and get those step-ins. He can. He's long enough. He's one of the tallest players in the league. He should be able to get offensive rebounds at will. A la QMB. I mean, if you just let him watch some QMB tape, maybe he can learn something from QMB. So,
solid fundamentals.
Diba? Just work. Yeah, actually, that's a very good point, Sam. Work on the fundamentals. Work on positioning inside the paint, getting easy baskets. Don't try to take your man off the dribble. Don't try to post up. You don't have those moves yet. Just don't try that, diba? Start of the season, diba, we were saying, Coach Topek, stop with the Henry Agunane post-ups. It ain't working. And he did.
Don't take a three.
He found well,
Michael
Actually, Maui, if he can hit it, I'm not against it. I mean, diba? If that's something that he chooses to work,
and then work your way up to the 3-point shooting.
Yep, but I do think si Henry Agunane has something to offer. As much as I've criticized him this past season, I do think he has, as Maui said, he has potential to be a better player, a more playable player. Someone who doesn't impact you negatively on the court. Because a lot of the times, season 87, it was a negative impact on the court for Henry. Sammy, bet you didn't expect the Henry Agunane thing.
Actually, hindi. Maui, go. Sorry. Were you saying something?
Yeah, about Agunane lang, di ba? I think there has to be a distinction lang between Agunane and Balogun, I have to say, di ba? With Balogun kasi, he's undersized, you don't see the potential on the court. With Agunane, he had flashes, diba, in games. He had games where he dominated. I think that's where Gabi's coming from, diba? And he has the tools. You can see how big it is, how mobile he is, how long he is. I think the main thing is ang ganda ng point ni Gab. The main thing is really for him to focus on the things that are his strengths, diba? Focus on rebounding, focus on rim protection. Stop trying to beat your defender off the dribble. Stop trying to create at the top of the key. Just focus on the paint. Blocking shots, rebounding. I think he'll be a lot better. That's maybe their goal, my goal for him for season 88. Then maybe after that, work on the other things. Diba? Once you've mastered those things. Diba? That's where Phillips was very good early on in his career. Diba? He focused on his strengths. And he continually added to his bag in succeeding seasons. Diba? It's better to be the best at something than being a jack of all trades and not that's how you become consistently playable.
Yeah, good point. Actually, I love both points. Sa Lasal, wala akong masyadong concerns, but I love yung Gab's point about Henry Agunane kasi the one thing lang that I wanted to point out is, like, if I'm Coach Topex Robinson, I'm making sure Mike Phillips will play for Lasal in season 88. He has said that he wants to play, he plans to play, but if you talk about guy who's pro ready, this guy is pro ready, and I'm sure people want to recruit him. I'm not sure kung eligible. Hindi ata siya eligible sa mga KBL, no, Maui, tama ba?
He's not eligible.
So,
I think that's the only reason why it's going back.
He's going
for
back to
season
Lasal.
88.
So he has said that he is going back to season 88, but I'm making sure he comes back kasi I think the championship hopes will depend on Mike Phillips coming back then. I know they have a ton of recruits, Maui. You listed down all the guys. Pero Mike Phillips was number 2 in MVP voting in season 87 for a reason. And
Front runner
QMB,
for next year.
frontrunner MVP for next year. QMB, the big guy that beat Mike Phillips in the finals is gone. He's done with UP. So right now, Mike Phillips is the best big man in the UAAP for season 88. So we need to make sure Mike Phillips is healthy and will be back for season 88. I think the rest will just follow through.
A good
So,
point also na since last season ni Mike Phillips, all the more you have to develop Henry Agonane.
yeah.
Because
That's true. Good
after
point.
Mike
Yeah, I
Phillips,
like that point.
you have to play a center,
Mhm.
and Henry
Mhm.
Agonane is there. So I do think really, for me, if I were Coach Topex, again, point of this segment, if I were Coach Topex, is the focus on Henry. Just little by little, focus on the fundamentals, focus on the little things. Okay, move on
Malay
to
mo,
the last school.
bilog ang bola. Si Amos ang maging center ng Lasal season
Tingnan
8.
natin. Tingnan natin. He doesn't like
I
playing
think
big man in
for
Ateneo.
Mason Amos' sake, and we've had Mason here a couple of times. I don't think he likes playing center, and for his sake, I don't think he play. I hope he doesn't play center. I don't think he's happy playing center in the UAAP.
Okay, last school for part 1 of our If You Were the Coach episode, the Far Eastern University Tamaraw. So Maui, if you were Coach Sean Chambers, what would you do?
Number one is I would require them to hit a lot of free throws and three-pointers, diba? They had a lot of close-out games. I think second probably to Ateneo, FEU was the number 2 team who threw games in season 87, diba? Ang daming nail biters ng FEU, even si Pasaol could have won a game, diba, sa three-point when he was fouled sa three-point line, but that's very important when you're building up a young team, di ba? You have to hit your free throws, number 1. Number 2 is to be able to be a good UAAP team, you have to dominate two things. One of the two things. At least dominate the paint or become a good three-point shooting team. Di ba? I think that's one of the keys of success with both UP and LaSalle, di ba, for this season. They will have to have more capable shooters, di ba? Once Joric Bautista also leaves, parang wala pang heir apparent to shooters. Ironically, FEU hasn't had a lot of shooters, di ba, during the past decade or so. That's very important, di ba? If VJ Pre hits the three-pointer consistently, it's gonna unlock another dimension to their offense, di ba? Imagine all 4 players hitting the three-point shot. I don't expect si Mo Konate to say the least to hit or even attempt three-point shots. I want him to focus on rebounding, to focus on protecting the rim, but all the other positions on the floor, they will have to hit free throws. They will have to hit their outside shot. I hope si Luke Felipe gets back. We had VJ Pre on the show, and he's hoping that si Kirby Moncopa will also be back out from injury next season. So it's gonna be the FEU baby Tamaraws playing in the seniors division. It's gonna be fun for sure. I hope they play. They really work on basically the fundamentals, because you know that they have the potential. They have the skills to. I think they showed nung second round that they have the skills, that they are capable to, and even be in the preseason. Diba? It's one of the main reasons why a lot of people, including us, overrated them. Diba? They have the skills. It's about composure. It's about hitting those crucial shots. It's about being consistent, I think, for FEU. They cannot start. I would say this probably for the 3rd or 4th straight off-season. They cannot start 0-4, 0-5 and expect to make the Final Four.
If you've watched FEU this season, I don't think it's a mystery what they should be working on. So if I were Coach Sean Chambers, number 1, they have to get get depth. They play their starting five or starting six if you include si Royce Alforque, yung coming off the bench. They played their starting six a ton of minutes. They basically ignored the rest of their roster. If you include si Baguno, si Ona, si Montemayor if eventually came into the rotation, but the rest of the roster, the Phil Ams, si Dunke, si Jones, they were basically ignored. They were in the doghouse the entire season. Si Book, none of them even cracked the rotation. So they were very shallow. They played their top 6-7 guys a ton of minutes. So they have to get deeper. Especially, and we said this with Adamson and with Ateneo, they have to get bigger. A backup to Mo Konate. We saw multiple times this season, Mo Konate played 38, 39 minutes a game. And he was gassed. Yes, it led to him getting a mythical 5 selection and putting up a ton of blocks and rebounds, but that's not sustainable for the future. You have to get a more capable backup to VJ Pre and to Mo Konate. Obviously, Coach Sean Chambers did not think Baguno or Ona was the answer. Cholo Aranuevo, for the nth number of time, was injured again for majority of the season. So, if it's gonna be Kirby Moncopa playing that stretch 4 role, if it's someone from their juniors ranks who can play as a backup big, they have to get someone to spell Mo Konate and VJ Pre some minutes. There were a ton of times talaga si VJ Pre yung pagod na. Pare si Mo Konate. So that's one, depth at all positions. Hopefully si Dwayne Miranda is finally coming to FEU, to the seniors division, hopefully as a backup to Joric and to John Ray. Play the Royce Alforque role despite, as we said in our previous draft, despite all the unappreciation going to Royce Alforque, he was pretty important to this team this past season. They're gonna have to replace his playmaking and his offensive stability yung off the bench. They're gonna need someone like Royce Alforque yung coming off the bench. And I hope someone from their juniors ranks or someone Coach Sean recruits from the US can come and take that role. Second, and I think maybe you could say it's more important, I've said it to you multiple times, he has to say to Montel Shelton, I'm sorry, you are not playing in season 88.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Montel Shelton, we got you here from the US. I know we said we're gonna play you, but we can't sit our mythical 5 center in Mo Konate. He's gonna have to play, and you're gonna have to sit another season. I'm sorry, my guy. You're gonna have to find another place to go because we're not replacing Mo Konate. Come on, he averaged nearly 15 rebounds a game and blocked 3 shots a game. You cannot sit him out. That's sacrilegious. FEU fans are gonna riot. Why are you sitting our mythical 5-team center? That is crazy. So that's number 2. Number 3, and Maui said it, shooting. If you've watched FEU the whole season, you know how much they struggled from 3-point land. Joric Bautista was their only 3-point shooter, and he wasn't even consistent from game to game. One guy who I want to see develop a more consistent 3-point shot is Jedrick Daa. He was a 3-point. His role was a shooter, a corner shooter, and for the first round, he hit none. I think that told you all you need to know about Cedric Daa. He struggled from 3. I think he hit less than 10 for the entire season, and that was his role. It's just funny that's his role, but he's not a shooter. He's more of a slasher. If you watch him in high school, he was more of a slasher. He has to develop a 3-point shot because that's not gonna be his role. He's not gonna have the ball in his hands with Joric there, with John Ray, Dwayne Miranda, if eventually comes with VJ Pre. He's not gonna be a ball handler. Not in this team. He's gonna be, again, the same probably the same role. A guy who waits in the corner for shots, or maybe as a cutter. Maybe Luke Felipe can take over his role, but Jedrick Daa has to be a more capable shooter. And hope to God that Kirby Moncopa comes. Because I was high on this guy when he was in high school. I love this game. He can shoot. He can do so many things on the floor. I love this guy. I hope he comes back healthy. He's one guy no one's people have probably forgotten about Kirby Moncova, but he's pretty good. I hope he's healthy and he's recovered from his accident. So I do hope na we get to see Kirby Moncova in the seniors rank. He's a pretty talented player in my opinion.
He's
Sammy,
big too. Malaki din siya.
he's
Malaki
big
din
too.
yung
Yep.
Copa. So, added height for FEU. No, simple lang yung sa akin, Gab. You mentioned it. I'm locking in Mo Konate as my FSA for season 88. If I'm Coach Sean Chambers as early as this season, I'm telling him, your FSA for season 88, wag kang aalis. Wag kang aalis. Kasi, why would you, diba, kick him out or tell him, bring in competition? He's like, tama ka, Gab. He's a mythical 5 guy. So, that's it for me. I love the Jedrick working on his shot pick also. Siguro for me, I'd also develop similar to what you said, yung depth. I developed the Phil Foreign guys. A lot of them were really hyped. We've talked about like Phil Foreign's getting hyped a lot. Didn't pan out for FEU. So I'd work on developing them. Sabi naman ni VJ Pre, we talked to him, sabi niya, I think it took them time to adjust. So there was an adjustment period. So I'm expecting better performances from these guys next season since they've experienced or they've seen how it is with how UAAP, the UAAP brand of basketball. So I'd like to develop those guys. I want to see more from like Jaden Jones, Adam Nakai. So hopefully they can, Coach Sean Chambers will work on their games this off-season and we'll see more from them next season. And I'm sure he will not stop recruiting Phil Foreign guys kasi he's based in the US si Coach Sean Chambers. So we expect him to get more. So hopefully he gets to add depth for FEU. That's it. That's it for today's episode. We talked about the first 4 schools. Stay tuned for part 2 of If You Were the Coach, where we'll talk about the other 4 schools. So, kung hindi namin pinag-usapan yung school nyo today, don't worry, we'll do another episode. If we did talk about your school, comment down below. If you were the coach of your school, anong gagawin mo this off-season in preparation for season 88? Let us know your thoughts. We love
Lahat tayo
reading
yung gusto
and
maging
replying to your
coach.
comments.
That is
Lahat
the
tayo
point
gusto
of this
maging coach.
segment.
Online coach. Yeah. That's always a thing. Sabi nga ni Coach Topex Robinson. We'll see you again next time. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Bye-bye.